team! Anything I should sell the team? You want to not come to any more games?
Why?
That's rude.
It's an opinion.
No, it's not an opinion. And you know what? Enjoy watching them on TV.
Him, Black. Bring him, him. Hold him for Kevin. Hold him for.
That is New York Knicks owner James Dolan. He is soft as Charmin. Like when he went after former Knick Charles Oakley, sicking Madison Square Garden security and even the cops on him.
But no one told me. No one told me. No one told me. I'm staying here. Now, you want to arrest me like Charles Oakley? Go fuck that. Or you arrest me like, no, shut my hand on my back like Oakley?
Or even Spike Lee.
And they said, you, this guy, security guy, they're all... This comes from the top. He says, Mr. Lee, you have to leave Madison Square Garden. They wanted me to leave the garden, walk outside, out to 33rd Street, employee where I came from, walk outside, and come back on 31st Street. I've been using the same entrance for 28 plus years.
When he's not antagonizing the stalwarts.
I also want to thank Jim Dolan and everyone at Madison Square Garden for this is unbelievable. I've watched the Knicks and Rangers here, and what a location. You know, they tried to talk Jim out of this location. There's no place like Madison Square Garden. Thank you very much to Jim and all of your people.
Fascists thank him for hosting them. Now, when you have someone with enormous amounts of wealth, they feel they can control everything, from speech to even human behavior. So what is the best way to do this?
You may have seen these cameras before when you're out and about because they're all over the country, but what you might not know is that they're operated by Flock, which is a $7.5 billion surveillance technology company. They make AI-driven license plate readers, live view cameras, and drone as first responder technologies. Flock works directly with local law enforcement, selling surveillance technology to improve public safety. They already have cameras in over 5,000 communities across 49 states.
The infrastructure and the danger is still very much alive. To understand why, you need to stop looking at these as doorbells and start seeing them as a massive, privately funded police dragnet.
To surveil them.
We are the world's epicenter of surveillance capitalism. We practically invented it. So your phone is constantly being tracked by which cell towers it's connecting to and the crappy mobile games that you have on it that are watching your every move. But that's not actually the NSA listening to your phone calls in the way that the Ministry of State Security might in China. The end result might be the same though. And there are ways in which I think, to your point, Lily, US government is completely co-opting that private sector surveillance and using it and also dialing up its own surveillance too.
So where does James Dolan fit in? He uses it.
He's got this growing enemies list.
Yes.
And so since 2018, he's been putting in place a network of surveillance cameras and increasingly sophisticated software to enforce that enemies list, to use biometrics, to use facial recognition, to keep people out of Radio City, out of the Beacon Theater, out of the Garden.
I want to give a humongous shout out to journalists Noah Chapman and Pablo Toure for breaking the story via Wired magazine, and Pablo Toure finds out. Chapman would write for Wired. Just a few examples. A graphic designer named Frank Miller, seen here, made a shirt that read "Ban Dolan" 4 years from the time he showed up at MSG. It was his parents' wedding anniversary. He went with them to the Garden. They had tickets for a concert. And after scanning his ticket, Miller was pulled aside by security. They mentioned a 2021 incident. He hadn't been there for 20 years. A direct quote, "They hand me a piece of paper letting me know that I've been added to a ban list. There's a trespass notice if I ever show up on any MSG property ever again. That includes Radio City, the Beacon Theater, the Sphere, and the Chicago Theater." To understand the level of pettiness that we are dealing with James Dolan. Follow me along here. They saw someone wearing the shirt, kicked them out, banned them from future events, but they found Miller by tracking the friend's social media, and he happened to tag Miller in an Instagram post. Then 3 years prior to that, an attorney named Kelly Conlon went to see the Rockettes at Radio City Music Hall on a field trip with the Girl Scouts where her daughter is a member. She'd be kicked out because she is with a law firm based out of Jersey, which has been in litigation against a restaurant under the MSG or Dolan's umbrellas. In reality, we should have seen this coming. A vindictive billionaire like Dolan who hates the fact that through his shortcomings, people don't like him. They're not fond of him. Thus, in 2018, in an effort to, as they will argue, bolster security measures, MSG installed face scanning tech, a huge red flag for personal privacy and the security of any data that is stored by the system. Thus, Wired started digging, and what they found was effing explosive. Speaking with 7 current and former employees of Dolan's security service, they reviewed Signal group chats and internal reports. Knicks players were told rooms can be bugged. Patrick Ewing at one point allegedly said this. Staffers worry about being watched when out in public. They write, "He's showing that with enough money and motivation, any mogul can create his own deep state and build a sprawling surveillance enterprise with him in the middle." Speaking of a deep state, who do we see mentioning this over and over again? Donald John Trump, the president of the United States, of course. James Dolan got married at Mar-a-Lago. That's right. Go figure. A frequent target of Trump's?
There are only 2 genders, male and female.
President Trump and the folks around him have really gone out of their way to make transgender issues a centerpiece of almost essentially every policy decision and consequential decision they make.
The National Park Service has removed all references to transgender people.
President Trump's ban on transgender troops from serving in the military.
I'm speaking about the transing of our children.
And transitioning them toward the point where we then mutilate them.
In 2024, we saw a record number of anti-trans bills that were proposed across the country.
The executive order that defines 2 genders in the context of the federal government really lays down in clear terms the Trump administration's views on gender in general.
Trans people, lo and behold.
This is a transgender woman, went to a lot of games. She, was friendly with a number of staffers at the Garden, was a known figure there.
It is an internal document that has my favorite kind of watermark because it says confidential all over it. And it has Madison Square Garden letterhead at the very top. It has time codes down to the very second. One column list is just the list of the surveillance camera the information is coming from. It has descriptions, detailed logs tracking this particular fan, Nina Richards, her every move. And when I say every move, I am not exaggerating, as we will see, because all 18 pages are devoted to this one person at one game.
Thus, in 2018, this is a major, major player in this entire story. Aside from James Dolan, it is John Eversole, who Dolan hired as head of security. The same time facial recognition entered Madison Square Garden. Pablo Torre finds out would publish a photo of Eversole. Here that is. Eversole basically wanted to follow Richards. One former employee says he targeted Richards because of her gender identity. Per the suit, Eversole would misgender Richards and show her picture in meetings with staff and allege, quote, "watch out for him or it or whatever it is."
There's another hug.
Another hug, same camera. And then 2 minutes and 2 seconds after that, again, same camera, Nina enters women's bathroom.
They're following this person into the bathroom. It's like, what is the point of this?
And the red alert returns at 9:06 and 26 seconds. Now headed courtside.
Yeah, the same security officer is seen speaking to her.
And then at 9:08 and 7 seconds, at last, Nina and female guest take a seat at section 1 and row 1. Appendix T, providing the proof. End scene.
And by the way, staffers would say Richards posed no threat at all. None whatsoever. She would be banned from the Garden right around the time the Knicks were getting better. A stalking allegation was fabricated to justify it. So how did we learn all of this exactly? A lawsuit from former MSG security staffer Donnie Ingrassalino, a former detective and enforcement agent with the DOJ. He filed it. That's how we know. Ingrassalino claims Eversole disclosed his disability, mocked him in front of staffers, and even placed sweets outside his office to laugh at him. He would also mock his age and basically say that younger staffers could do his job in a shorter amount of time. He would basically make him a target and continually piling on him over and over again. The suit alleges Ingrassalino pushed back on the overreach of software used at MSG, which included taking photos, obtaining social security numbers, and financial information. Yes, this is real.
He made kind of a key error in his personal security, in his OPSEC, because something we found is his public Facebook profile. And then there's this.
Yeah. So this is a black cat on a bed, it appears.
Yeah.
With bright hot pink nails.
So would it shock you if Eversole was not only a cat dude, but his alleged Facebook account displayed a black cat with pink nails over a handgun? What? By the way, James Dolan has a real disdain for dogs, Wired magazine would report. And in that report, it seems because of his hatred for our furry little friends, he and Eversole would make it very clear they do not want bomb-sniffing dogs. They do not want canine units because Dolan hates canines. And once more, the similarities to Donald Trump, who does not own a dog, probably never will at this point, and also shows how much he hates them. There's too much of an overlap here in the middle of the Venn diagram. We continue. They would, per the journalists, tap people's emails, with Eversole being told to do this by none other than New York Knicks owner James Dolan. Let's go back to Charles Oakley for a second. The former Knick great was tracked per Wired sources for hundreds of miles away from the venue. They were told to surveil him. Once more, there had been rumors that the arena has been completely bugged by James Dolan. And one thing that we learned in the Wired story, and Pablo Torre finds out, is that members of security had a group chat. And this was an exchange that occurred. Check it out.
922, just heard a sell the team. Any idea who screamed it?
I'm near 101. Didn't hear it.
9:24 p.m. Now Dolan sucks. Where is it?
All of section 109 now. Section 110.
So they are out.
Started by two guys on far left. One Blue Rangers jersey, one white shirt. Both sell the team and Dolan sucks. Another guy responds. Have, name redacted, and paid detail, do it. No one else. Discreet and professional. Section 110.
9:30 p.m. Moving back to suite. Be ready. Get those guys out.
Forwarded the IDs to the intel team for workups.
Then Eversole says, thankin'?
That is seemingly a typo or, again, a sophisticated code name.
Or thank you. And then load in facial.
And to be clear, Dolan would say via The Athletic that the tech is used to catch terrorists. Is this true? Doesn't seem to be the case. They have an entire file of people ranked from not really a risk, but maybe just put them on there to, hey, let's watch this person. Hey, follow this person, all the way up to a very, very high risk. And here is what Chapman, Wired, and Pablo Torre finds out brought to us. And this is disgusting and alarming. A low-risk threat is a little girl. Process that. Think about that. A little girl is on their list. Another is this individual, a former security staffer at Madison Square Garden, dressed in New York City Police Academy garb, where they have been on the force since 2024. Wired's reporting would also conclude that Eversole and James Dolan would scour social media and really target those who were critics of his. This is like a modern day burn book from Mean Girls. But the thing is, the ringleader is worth over $4 billion, has political connections all the way to the president, has hosted his rallies, which some have equated to modern day Nazi rallies, where the Nazis also had a rally at Madison Square Garden many years ago. This is who many people are not only dealing with, but supporting by going to those games. It is remarkable how sensitive one man can be and how he is trying to crush dissent by using not only his teams, but his venues to do it. This is authoritarian owners within sports, and it is once more very alarming. If those posts could be interpreted in any way as threats, Eversole would contact their hometown police, multiple security team sources would say. There would be many dissenters to this story, but one that I want to bring to you is Melanie D'Arrigo, Executive Director of the Campaign for New York Health. Here is what she said. There is nothing more dangerous than a paranoid conservative billionaire with a fragile ego. And to that I say, absolutely. Because they are using their teams to go after those that simply say, sell the team, fire Dolan, even though he can't fire himself, and basically saying that he is not doing a good enough job. Instead of looking inward, instead of having that introspection, instead of saying maybe it's a better time, rather our teams would have a better time, our fans would have a better experience, if I were to try and put out the best product possible and hire the best people possible to do this. And I will give him credit. In recent years, he has. The Knicks are an exciting team. The Rangers are always going to be the Rangers. But the fact that he is doing this to people who, let's just be kind, have 100 followers, 500 followers, 1,000 followers, and this is how he treats them, along with claiming that it is to fight terrorism when so many sources within the story say that that is flat out BS, and they're not even working with the FBI in many cases, then you really have to ask yourself, do you want to support this going further?